Hello. Hi, everyone. I hope the connection is good. I had a signal problem, but I hope everything's fine. So, Fareedah, if you can ask to join, that would be great. So we can have you join right away. Hi, everyone. There we go. Hello.
Hey, oh, you have to
Hi,
feel
how are
that.
you?
Great, how are you? Like, let me make
Fi-
sure I'm not all up in the camera. I can be like right
Yeah,
here.
I know yeah, I know what you mean. No, you look great.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
Oh, thank you for
This
inviting
is,
me.
it's such an important conversation, and it's a conversation that many people are having now. Online safety, cybersecurity, which is the actual word for it. But I'm gonna start, Fareedah, by introducing you.
Perfect.
Okay? And listen to this, people. Fareedah you're a tech expert, okay, and you're the CEO and founder of Sakuba. And via your job, you help parents and caretakers protect their kids online. Okay, um, stop anytime you want if the information is incorrect.
It's
Now,
all good.
so you've taught thousands of people online security and safety, and that's amazing because at Youth Underground we always talk about that. You know how the importance of online security, what we should do, what kids should do, what youth should do, you know, people of all ages. And is it really like closing all the social media, which we personally don't agree with, you know? Or what are the tools to protect yourself and protect kids? Or the youth, and everyone in general, actually,
Mhm.
it's all ages.
Correct.
So I want to say, but one thing I want to underline is that you are a Forbes 30 under 30 honoree. So congrats for that.
Thank
And
you.
you are currently serving on the Forbes board for the under 30 community.
Yeah,
Now, that is awesome.
thank you.
And you've been named, I have to mention that, Cybersecurity Personality of the Year last year.
It's like
How amazing is that? We're going to put all this in the caption below. So don't worry, people, if you didn't hear anything or if you missed some of the conversation, don't worry, everything will be in the caption.
perfect.
You're free to ask whatever questions you want, put down the comments, and we'll go ahead. I
Thank
know a little bit about your background. I mean, from the bio, you teach online security to non-tech savvy people, and I love that
yeah.
because when people think of tech, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you know, no, what is this?" And so that's what I like. But I'd like you to go back and just give us a little background about yourself and what made you start this journey actually and create your company and work in this field.
Oh my God, it's a huge, I mean, my background's interesting because I'm an avid gamer, because I love the online space and I met amazing people like you. Here, you feel like, oh, her childhood must have been surrounded by technology. It wasn't. I was a huge bookworm. I believe I counted a long time ago, and from my memory, it was 3,000 books. We had a huge library. I was reading all the time. I did not watch TV. I didn't play games until I was around 13. I was not in the online space. The only tech I got at home was a computer. My dad worked in tech. He was like a huge, he
Mm-hmm.
still is a huge tech guy. And so he gave me a computer with no internet. And he was like, here, explore, do what you want. And so naturally, I went on Paint and I did clip art and I did all those type of things that many people did when you don't have the internet and you're just browsing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my background in terms of my childhood. And I started to get into online gaming. So I experienced everything you experience in online gaming. I met the most amazing people in the world and the most crazy people in the world. I've had traumatic experiences. I've had beautiful experiences. Went through, the whole cyberbullying. I went through
Yeah.
inappropriate conversations or content, all of everything you get when you are a young girl gaming. And so I grew up and I decided to get into tech because that's just what I knew. But I always was interested in the human side. I was interested in psychology. I was interested in why do we do what we do. So when I picked my major, I finally said, let me go to cybersecurity. I decided I wanted to look into the human side of security. I wanted to look into what it means to protect families and in particular businesses from predators, not predators, but hackers, these
Hackers, yeah.
criminals, yeah, that are trying to get into these things. So that's my background, and I decided to start a business in this because I didn't see a lot of people talking about security in a way that made sense, in a way that was fun, in a way that was holistic, in a way that thought about family dynamics and culture and languages and understanding and safety and security internally and
Right.
externally. And then people who had a background who understood the gaming world. So I'm not like, hey Jesse, hey everyone.
Hey Jesse, hi Jesse.
I'm not a pro gamer. I'm not in the gaming world in that sense. I don't have like, that's just not. However, I know a lot of people in the field and I have been in the gaming world. So for me, it was important to take my background in gaming, my background in cybersecurity. So I worked in corporate. I taught threat intelligence, cybersecurity awareness. That was like my expertise area. And so I decided to take all of that and figure out a way to talk to parents, to talk to families that don't understand security, they don't understand safety, but they really want to be secure and safe. That's like a very long but like understandable background on why I do what I do and why I care so much. Because this needs to be like, this needs to be
I
bigger
know it's a long
for security.
question. I love
Yeah.
it. I know it's a long question, but there's a lot of there are a lot of steps. But was there a moment in your life when you say, okay, this is what I want to do? When you're talking about, because a lot of people listening don't completely understand what cybersecurity is, and they run away from the term. So what gave you the aha moment? Or did it come gradually?
People came to me. So I would be talking. So I'd go to conferences, business conferences, and I would just be talking, and they would say, "Oh my God, more parents need this. Like, we don't understand this. You have a background in X, Y, and Z, what I just said." And they're just like, "Well, can you teach us?" And my background, I also teach. I did education, cybersecurity awareness education workshops. So I said, "Okay, all right, I'll teach." But the job went out because the people kept coming to me, and it usually takes a community of people, to be honest, to like
Right.
wake up and go, "Hi, hello, we need you."
Yeah. So you were where? You were studying at the time, or how did it, when you were giving like lectures or presentations and so on, people came up to you when in that, where were you then? Were you studying, or had you finished,
I
or
was
what was your?
and I was working. So I was an intern. I
Okay.
first went in as an intern, then they hired me as a full-time person. And then
Okay.
I started conferences, and that's where everything began. Because I didn't actually finish college. I said, screw this, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I want to work. I want to make it
Fair
in.
enough. Yeah. And you did well.
Thank
You
you.
chose what's good for you,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
I have to say that for the audience, Fareedah is the go-to person for cybersecurity. So we're going to put her social media links in the caption. Please stay focused and tuned, and please ask whatever questions you want, because in terms of what we do, we always, parents are afraid about predators online, about gaming, about different issues that we'll discuss now. So I'm really happy to have you here. I wanted to ask you, what age bracket do you really focus on? I mean, when you talk about kids online, what is really your, I mean, do you focus on a certain age, or are they teenagers, or are they younger, or are they tweens, or is it just across the board kind of thing?
It is typically school age kids.
Okay.
That's the typical range. However, I mean, people come to me with their kids are either my age or they're in college or they're even younger. They have a newborn and they're like, okay, well, I'm trying to get this now.
Now.
So I'm like, okay, let's talk. But typically it's school age kids. So
And
even,
you, yeah, sorry, go on.
nope, that's it.
No, I was just, do you deal with them yourselves, or I mean, with themselves, or do you deal with, I mean, do you talk to their parents, or how do you reach out to them? I mean,
Yeah.
do you explain to them? Because I'll tell you where I'm coming from, is that at Youth Underground, what we do is we talk to the youth directly. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously we talk to parents, which is important, but we focus on youth empowerment. Obviously, this is a different take. So I'm just curious to know, do you talk to young people directly? Do you like give presentations to them, or do you talk to parents essentially, or guardians or teachers, or do you get them all together, or what's your approach?
So typically it is the parents, caretakers, teachers, educators. That's the typical audience.
Okay.
And then I have done sessions where it's the parents and the kids together. So I've done like some mother-daughter sessions, which is just, oh my God, it's the best.
It is, right?
Yes, honestly, it's my favorite. It's just my favorite.
Really?
Yes,
What do you like about it?
I think it's really because of my own relationship with my mom and
Yeah.
the involvement that we have went through, and it's just I just absolutely love that dynamic between mother and daughter. So that's my favorite dynamic, even though I love every which way of the dynamic, and I talk to everyone, but
Of
that's just
course.
that's close to my heart in particular. But I actually am starting to do more sessions. So I'm partnering with organizations to actually talk to the kids so that parents can put the kids in a class and I'm like the instructor for the day. And I talk
Hmm.
about my experience in online gaming and what they can do. Typically, and then also in my programs, I have like a section that I'm creating right now because parents are like, hello, we need this.
Yeah.
To the
Yeah.
kids directly because it's as a parent I can't give you the tools, I'll give you the resources, I'll give you the discussion, I'll give you the checklist, but at the end of the
Hmm.
day there are things that I may know I do know that
Yeah,
the
you do.
people,
I can affirm that.
right, and so me sitting with them and then having another person tell them
Mm.
that understands more of what they're going through than maybe what their parent understands. It's easier for the kids to digest what I'm saying versus what the parent's saying. So I don't typically, that's not my typical route. However, when I'm partnering with organizations or schools, yeah, I will do that. That's something I'm working on now. It's pretty, I love it.
Yeah, it's fun working with the youth because they get it so quickly
Yes.
and they understand it so quickly. I think from what you're saying and from our experience, it's always, I don't want to generalize, but that's the truth actually, that it's the adults that are more afraid, it's like by protecting the youth, you're kind of hiding the truth or what goes on, and you can actually enjoy social media and gaming and the internet and be safe. And that's what's important. That's why I'm really happy you're here today to say, not, it's not like a black and white, no, the social media is all bad, gaming is all bad, internet's
We're
all
all,
bad, especially now during COVID, because now during COVID, I mean, the estimates are like there are 1.5, I think over that now, students have been online over the past 2 years, and that's huge. That's a huge number. So in terms of where we work with in terms of human trafficking, but in other areas as well, you've got people that have direct access to the youth, and that I can understand. It scares parents, and it's a scary thought. But the idea is to empower the parents and the youth, and to make them feel, no, I've got this. If I know the rules, if I know what to do, I can enjoy it, and I can handle it. It's not a fear factor. And
right.
that's, I think, where we connect, is
Yeah.
like, don't be afraid and don't shut everything out. No, manage it, navigate through it, know what's important, and that's what I love about what you do.
Exactly. You plus one on the everything, everything you said.
I
100%.
want to ask you, Fareedah, what are the main questions parents tend to ask you, the three, if you can summarize them in three or more? What are the main questions parents come up to you, or teachers? Do teachers come up to you as well, or just parents in general?
But mostly parents, is that's my audience.
Parents, huh?
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely teachers, educators, principals,
Yeah.
everyone in the box. But usually it's about like when should I let my kids on social media? How much screen time is too much screen time? And these games good for the kids? Like, is it basically screen time in terms of who are they talking to? Is it too much time on the game? Is 5 hours too much? 2 hours too much? They don't want to get off the game. How do I get them off the game?
And
And
what's your response?
oh my gosh. So when it comes to like kids, it
Mm.
depends on the kid that you're talking to. There
Mm-hmm.
is a threshold. So we always talk about behavior. So you know your kids like normal behavior. So you just need to know what is normal for you. So I always say like what's normal for your household, what's okay for your household. And then from there, then you build on. So if their like behavior is changing, they're being rude, they're being irritable, something's happening because they're playing too much, then create balance or harmony in their life. So have them take a break, have them understand why the game is important and when it needs to be put down. Because gaming is
Mm-hmm.
great for the development, for communication, for a sense of community, all of those type of things. But at the same time, not but, and you need a break. Like school's great, but school's not great 24 hours a day.
Sure.
That's going to be
Right. Right.
there all the time. So it really is important to have that. And then there are resources. So if your kid actually is addicted and they can't get off and it's too much for them, you decide that threshold. There are kids that can play 5 hours a day and they're good. Another kid, 5 hours a day is like, whoa, that is way too much. We're taking this down to
Mm.
1 hour a day. So I always say there's no blanket answer to me. Anytime someone does give a blanket answer, it usually is not good because
Mm.
it's not rooted in everyone's reality, because everyone's reality isn't that they have the privilege or luxury to have someone watch their kid for a couple of hours. Sometimes you just have
Right.
a movie or a game so that you can get a break or that they can get a break. So I stay away from concrete answers. You'll see like people always see I always stay away from concrete answers unless
Yeah,
it's
I can understand that because the families are different and kids are different and they react in different ways.
yes,
So,
unless it's security.
yeah,
There's very rare concrete answers.
there are, but what would you say is like why is screen time such a stress factor? Why do you think it's such a stress factor? As
This
opposed to the content, is it like because they've got more time to explore content that would be inadequate, or it's just like spending too much time where they could be doing healthier things? I mean, what's the issue that parents are encountering with screen time?
there's a lot of shame, to be honest. It's shame to
It
me.
is, huh?
It's just a lot of shame. It's the parents feel a lot of shame, and then the kids feel a lot of shame, and there's just not a lot of understanding of what the content is. And
Mm,
and even when the content is good, there's still a worry. So it's not even really about the content. Content is important. I believe content matters more than the amount of time. Unless the amount of time is astronomical, then that's the complete everything's in an extreme. There's
mm,
but the content matters more than the exact amount of time they're spending. But even when the content is great, there still is a shame and a fear around, is this too much? And too much is like, is it going to ruin their brain? Are they not going to be able to communicate with other people? Are they not going to be able to have a good life and do the things they need to do? Am I giving them too much and making it as if their development is going to go wrong? So it's like, to me, it's just fear and shame, and all of them are valid human emotions, and it's totally okay to have them. It's just
mm-hmm.
understanding that's the root of it, and then working upwards from that. To me, everything is psychology, everything's therapy, everything's healing. That's
Yeah.
because I don't, even when it comes to, and I know we're going to talk about that, so I'm going to stop. But yes.
No, please continue. On the contrary, no, go ahead.
No, in terms of like parental monitoring or parental control, I don't like the discussion on the tech level. I like the discussion on the what it does to you as a parent. Because we talk a lot about the kids, we don't talk a lot about what parental monitoring does to parents. And I haven't seen a lot of adequate studies on what it does to parents, so I
Mm-hmm.
can't talk about that from any like
Mm,
research-based evidence. But I do believe we should actually think about what it does to you as a parent. And Jesse said the shame of being told you're not raising your kids, your television is. Exactly, right?
yeah,
It's
that's what
that
Jesse. Yeah. Thanks,
exact.
Jesse, for that comment. Yeah. It's like you're not being a good parent. You're using the whatever, the internet or the TV or the whatever screen time as the babysitter, as opposed to you being able to take care of your kids. But there is a happy medium. It's not all or nothing, you know? And
Yes.
I think, I mean, from our perspective, we always, and you know that from the conversations we've had on Clubhouse, is that I think it's really important to have conversations. You know, it's not like the kids are somewhere in a corner and the parents are in another corner and there's no communication. There has to be interaction. There has to be communication. conversations. What are you interested in? Why are you interested in this? And kind of as a parent or as an adult or as a guardian, teacher, you know, try and find out what is it that the kids are interested in. Why are they interested in that? What, you know, is it why is our perception as adults, because it tends to be negative. I mean, I see it in the work I do, we do in Youth Underground, is that that it tends to be, oh gosh, you know, social media, be afraid and all that, and that's not the way it should work, because that's not the way to teach
Exactly.
anyone about navigating through social media. I have there's a comment, Caitlin Childs, for you.
Hey,
Hey,
Kayla.
Fareedah, I work for the World Health Organization and suspect we might be able to work together in some capacity. Shoot me a message, okay, with
Awesome.
your email, and we can chat through official channels. We're going to have, Caitlin, we're going to have Fareedah's links in the caption, so
Yes.
stay
Now,
tuned. Everything will be there.
in case something happens, so I can get back. But yeah,
Yeah,
thank you. I love to, absolutely love to.
yeah.
I like, for me, it's so important that we think about everything, and I always say holistic because we think holistic is just like about food or your life.
Yeah, you're
Like,
eating veggies.
right, eat veggies. But I'm like, you know what? Like, what can you do as a parent that is giving yourself grace as well? Because what you feel inside affects your kids. And we often forget that kids are like, they're human beings. They have, I believe,
Mm,
has different belief system, but I believe they have their own soul. They have their own spirit. They're on their own person. And
true.
so you have to understand that whatever you're teaching them is what they're going to teach themselves internally. They're going to tell themselves internally as they grow older. So when
Right.
you're talking about something like addiction or too much time on the game, you want to give them the thought process and the tools so that when they get older, they go, oh, I'm feeling agitated right now while I'm gaming. Not only is this going to ruin my game, I talk about this with gamers, by the way. So I'm talking about
Mm,
their point of view. When you're agitated and frustrated, you don't play well. You're going to lose
mm,
most of your games. You're going to be really pissed off because you lost most of your games. And many times when you lose a lot of games, there are consequences even inside the game. And so these are principles you can put into for school, for business, for life in general. If you're frustrated and you cannot function correctly, because you can't, psychologically speaking, even if you think you could. And the only reason
mm,
people can function is because of trauma and because they've been conditioned their mind to function through a traumatic experience. But most of us, we cannot function in that way. So most
mm,
people, even if you're like great under pressure, that means that most likely you had a childhood that was a lot of pressure and you had to,
right.
but that's not your highest self. Your highest level does not function the best in that way. Not to say that we can't be excellent, because we can, and we do it,
Mm,
because every day's pressure sometimes.
yeah, true.
But it's still not your highest self. So teaching your kid to understand where their feelings are coming from and go, oh, I'm really pissed off right now and I'm being very toxic to other people and I'm writing back.
Mm,
Other people are saying bad things to me and is affecting me. I don't like this. And I have every right to be pissed off. So I'm going to take a step back from the game. I'm going to
mm,
relax. I'm going to do whatever he or she or they want to do in that moment to protect themselves from getting into a space where they don't want to be. So that allows
mm,
them to understand self-regulation so that when, not if, but when you're not around and when they get older and when they're out on their own, they're able to function without a feeling of you're playing too much, you're a bad person, you're wasting
mm,
life away. They go, oh, I may be feeling really stressed out, so I'm using gaming as an outlet and as an escape. So let me think about what feelings are actually present and how do I solve this problem so that I have a healthy way of dealing with my emotions, so that I'm turning to gaming. Even if it's escape, I know it's an escape and I know when to stop so that I can turn my actions around to something that's more productive and beneficial to me in the long run. That's
mm.
we want. We don't want shame and fear. We want to empower them to make better decisions for themselves. And that's everything that I'm about. And that's why I always say the conversation is more nuanced than putting, timers on
For
their,
sure.
or monitoring them or telling them that gaming is great, but you need to get off. Like, okay,
Hmm.
why? Why?
But in terms of self-regulating, this is the kind of conversations you can have with parents as well, right? And and kids, they get it,
Yeah,
right?
they
They
definitely.
do understand it. I mean, I think we tend to minimize what youth understand. They understand, if you talk to them and have discussions with them, they get it,
100%.
and we should ask the why. You were saying that the reason behind it. It's not the amount of time, it's the why. Why is that an escape? If there is trauma, what is that trauma, you know? So we need to dive deeper, and parents need to address that. And it's conversations that can make parents very uncomfortable, because they do feel shame and they do feel guilt, and they feel that the screen time is actually the cause, but it's not. It could be something completely unrelated, and they spend their outlet is screen time, and that's actually saving them in many ways. It's an escape for them, and it's something that they need.
Exactly. Yeah. When you have that shame emotion, like ask yourself why. Why do I have it? And sometimes you don't know the answer. So sometimes you have to have like seven, I believe, for anyone who's like an expert in this, I'm not. This is just me as a person, just we all going through something. And
Mm,
you have to ask 7 levels of why sometimes. And sometimes you have to write it down. Sometimes you have to speak it out loud. Maybe you have to call a friend, whatever you need to do, maybe a therapist, whoever. And you go,
mm,
okay, I don't like that they spend so much time on the computer. Why? Well,
right.
because they're not doing their homework and they're failing their classes. Okay, why are they failing their classes? Now we're having a deeper discussion. Oh,
Exactly.
versus you go, I'm really frustrated, rightfully so. They should not be spending this much time, rightfully so. Now I'm going
Mm,
to get off the game right now. You need to finish your homework right now. This is absolutely unacceptable. You are being a bad kid. This is not really good. I raised you to be better than this. You have your C's. I need you to get an A plus. And it's just like, and all that,
mm,
just like trauma and trigger.
yeah.
And I don't want
Very
to,
triggering.
I don't want
And
to,
there's a feeling of guilt when they do actually go on screen or gaming or whatever, you know, and
yeah,
it shouldn't be there,
exactly.
because that's an outlet.
Exactly. So it's and then you can have, and when you're having that discussion, now you're able to have that discussion with them. No matter how old, even if they're, I mean, it doesn't really matter, because what we don't realize is that we ourselves have what we all call like the inner child or the inner person.
Yes,
And so
absolutely.
we're repeating phrases that our parents, caretakers, teachers, friends,
Mm,
family members, siblings have told us.
mm,
So what do you want them, when you talk to them, what do you want them to repeat to themselves? That's what you want to say.
mm,
And if you don't want them to repeat what you said to them, then don't say that. And it's okay if you do that, because you're a human being and all you're doing is repeating something that someone said to you. So it's a whole cycle.
it
And
is.
sometimes it lives in your genes. So I'm reading this book. Oh gosh. It didn't start with you. That's what the book is called. It's a really great book. Actually, everyone read it. It's very, very, very it's an amazing book. It takes a while to get through, and it talks about how what happens 3 generations back affects you, and it stays in your DNA for 3 generations. So sometimes the thoughts and feelings and fears and shames that you have is not even coming from you or your mother, it's actually coming from your grandmother. And
Yeah,
so
it's like intergenerational
exactly.
trauma. Mm,
So you feel a certain way because of that. And then on top of that, you have your own life experiences that maybe have nothing to do with your family, that is also
mm,
affecting how you feel. So when I'm saying I don't operate in parental shame, I don't do parental shame. So
no,
I don't say that this is what you have to do, and if you don't do this and you're a bad parent. No, 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 no. Like, it's just, then what does that say about me? That means I'm hurting inside and I'm putting it on parents
that's right.
because
I
I
think in general, sorry, did I cut you?
no.
This conversation is amazing. I just, you know, I think in general, when you want to get a message across, shaming is the worst route to take, because it puts people in a corner and they feel, okay, now what? How do I get out of this? The best way is to look at the positive, and, you know, just have a conversation about, okay, what's the positive? What's bothering you? You know, the why behind it. Like you said, if there is intergenerational trauma, then the internet is has nothing to do. It's like addiction. You know, when you talk about addiction on the internet, it's, why is that? It's more than what we see. There's something much deeper than that. And these are the conversations that adults and parents and guardians and teachers should be having, as opposed to, no, 2 hours screen time and that's enough. Why?
It's very surface level, and it,
Right? It is very much so.
yeah, it's like a band-aid. And some kids and some people are more prone to addiction, as we already know, than other people.
Of
So
course.
sometimes you have to go, okay, do I have addiction in my family? is, have there been certain types of traumas that usually trigger addiction in other generations? And sometimes it feels like, oh my God, like, are we like a, it feels like
Yeah.
a scientist, but you do have to like, and I highly recommend, even if you can't find a therapist, because the therapist is like, I say that, we all say that, but to be honest, it's really difficult to find somebody that
It is difficult.
is.
It is, for sure.
So the first step sometimes, obviously, while you're trying to find someone who you can connect with, is listen to books or read books or follow accounts. My account, I don't go so deep into this all the time, but I honestly
Mm,
probably should talk about what I'm reading. I'm just not an expert in this, so I'm not gonna. I talk about it as a conversation, and
mm,
start doing reels on that. But that's a separate, that's another thought. But
mm,
follow accounts that actually talk about this regularly, so that it's in your feed, and or follow authors or podcasters or whoever that they regularly talk about the mind and the mental space and holistic, because and then as you start changing what you're internally inputting in your brain, because
mm,
while parenting podcasts are great and I definitely recommend that, if the parenting podcast doesn't have a lot of focus on your mental health and holistic
mm.
understanding, that it can be really difficult because all you hear is do, don't, do, don't, do, don't.
Right, right.
And I am guilty of that too, because I'm in security. And is there's do, don't, do, don't, do, don't.
Mm,
Probably go through my feed and you'll see all of the do's and don'ts. It's very difficult to get out of that. So it's important to, like Leah said, curate your online experience.
right, right. I wanted to ask you a question. How can we protect, this is related to Youth Underground and what we do. How can we protect our youth from predators online? We talk about this, but I'd like your take. Is it to, some parents would say, okay, let me look at all the devices and check the passwords and so on, or remove kids completely from, I'm talking about the younger generation here,
Mm-hmm.
because when they're teenagers, it's obviously very different. But remove them from social media, kind of. And we don't feel that's kind of the route to take, because we feel that, as I said before, discussion is important, and understanding and sharing the facts. Like what we do at Youth Underground, we talk about, okay, there are predators out there. This is what you need to know. The basics, the 1, 2, 3. Like, don't talk to strangers. I'm simplifying it here, but if somebody has a great Instagram, for example, or Twitter account, usually it's Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok, you have to be, don't accept every person that tells you you're the best person out there, and then the misconception is that predators are like the big bad person, and it doesn't happen that way, because on the contrary, they're feeding on your vulnerability. And so it's important that young people know about this. But as in tech, what would you what's your take on that? Is it like to put like install certain softwares, or privacy settings, or what would, how would you respond to that question?
Definitely,
Protecting yourselves from predators.
there's a tech aspect, of course, but I think of tech as the icing and the cherry on top of the cake. The cake is everything we talked about, the
Mm,
intergenerational trauma and holistic safety, security, conversations, all of that. That's the entire cake. That's all the recipes we put in to
yeah.
make it taste really great
Mm,
so that we can actually have a cake. And then the tech with the parental controls, the monitoring, privacy, security, safety, that's the icing on the cake to enclose and to finish off what we're really trying to do, which is to protect them and protect ourselves online. And in terms of settings, I definitely recommend that everyone, whether you're a parent or not a parent, for your accounts and your kids' accounts, whoever you're taking care of, to look at the settings. It's very simple. It's a quick thing, but we often always forget it. We just create our account and we're like, okay, we're in.
yeah, right. That's true.
But you want to look at the settings, see what's available in terms of privacy, security, and safety. And those are completely different things. So safety may be I say like who can message you, or if they can comment, what are certain phrases that they can say in the comment, well, not say but can't say. So say if they say something really bad, or you don't want someone to say ugly or whatever
Mm,
particular word, you can take that out. That's safety. In terms of security, you can say who has access to this account. It should only be
mm-hmm,
one or some authorized people to have access to the account. We don't want to have anyone to have access. So you want
mm-hmm,
things like two-factor authentication, a really good password. You want to get a notification if someone actually logs in from a different state, city, country, continent.
mm-hmm,
And then you have the privacy aspect of it. Is this account a private account? Those are like really, or how much information the place can collect on you. Do they have access to your photos, your location, those type of things? That is a really, really great thing to do as a parent for yourself, because you have accounts you need to protect, and
mm-hmm,
to teach your kids in the same grain. So that's a really great thing to do. In terms of when your kid gets online, obviously it depends on the family. I highly recommend for social media that you wait until you believe your kid can handle that.
mm-hmm.
The social, and you can handle that. To be honest, it's not just your kid, but you.
Yeah, that's
Because
very
you have,
true. That's very true.
like, if you're not in a place where you can't, if you're just like, I can't, then leave it alone until you can. However, that being said, I don't believe you should leave the conversation alone, because
Mm,
their kids, oh my gosh, their friends, their family members, people that they know, they connect with, they most likely will have social media. And even if you don't think they're on social media, they may already be on social media. Even if you're not ready, they're ready, or
right,
they got,
right.
so, or they know someone
And
who.
they're getting younger and younger as well.
Exactly. So yes, the minimum age is 13, but we know that they're on there. Wait,
No, of
wait,
course.
like, come on.
Mm,
So it's still important to have the conversations about social media, about security and safety. It doesn't have to be technical because you don't know or think they're on it yet. However, you do want to have the general discussions. You want to create that connection because, well, as you already know, predators do look for a no connection between the child and the parent. They don't really talk to them. There's like friction. They
mm,
get into that because that's a vulnerability. They can start talking like, "Oh, really? They don't let you do that? That's terrible."
mm.
You're able to have a connection with your kid. That's great. Now, I do want to give a caveat, because not everyone has the pleasure of having a great connection with their kid. And you may be trying
That's true.
really, really, really hard, and you really want to cultivate a beautiful relationship, but for whatever reason, whether it's the time, the place, trauma, whatever it is, you guys cannot connect. Either they can't connect with you or you can't connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
So all you need is your best, your very, very best, and that is it, because that's all that's required, because that's all that you can give right now, and that is okay. And they will heal from anything they go through. One thing is, as human beings, we are resilient. So
Yeah,
there are parents that are just, they don't have that maternal paternal instinct, or they just don't, it just doesn't happen for whatever reason. And that's
right,
okay.
right.
I'm talking, when I say about you have to have that relationship, it's if you have the ability to do that. And we all do, we just have to try our best in that. So I just really don't want to make parents feel that I don't have the resources, or I don't have the time because I'm working 24/7 to keep a roof over their heads. I don't have
That's true.
to talk
I
to them.
mean, ideally, it would be when we talk about parents, it's like people, kids in functional homes, but
Yeah,
that's not the reality out there. There are many kids in dysfunctional homes, and that's where, the knowledge and the education and the empowerment is really important, and talking to them directly and understanding that they've got this. Don't be afraid. They've got this. They don't need to engage in conversations that they feel comfortable about, and they need to listen to their instincts, as
exactly.
opposed to, oh, I'm afraid, or nobody understands me, or that kind of. No, what do you feel? Why are you reaching out? When so it's a lot of the why in the conversation that's important to have.
Exactly.
I have a few questions about gaming, because I know that there's a lot of questions about Roblox. Roblox is safe for kids? Is There's also Minecraft, and that there was another one that I can't remember now. But anyway, I think you know it.
Yeah.
Minecraft, and there's another one that's for free, where Roblox and Minecraft, and there's another one. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's the
They're all,
principle is the same, is that uh you can be online for free. Some of them you have to pay, like Call of Duty, you have to pay. and that kind, you know, that limits the you know, the youth engagement. But those, for those that are, that can access these gaming sites for free, what should they look out for? What's the positive of gaming? Let's start with that. Let's focus on the positive of gaming, and then what should they look out for? Because when you think of gaming, we're like, oh no, you know, because you're interacting with people you don't know, which actually is not a bad thing, because you create a small community for yourself. But what should people, what should kids know, basically?
I mean, gaming is a great way to connect with people. It's just one of the best, fastest way, which is the most scary and most beautiful thing in the world.
Mm,
It's honestly like it's a chance to be vulnerable in a great way and a bad way at the same time. And honestly, gaming, it has given so many people community and acceptance because they may not have acceptance in their home and the
right, yeah.
community, schools that they go to. And so when you have a social media platform, because I believe gaming is social media, whether it is TikTok or whether it's an actual gaming thing like Minecraft or Roblox, they have a chance to connect with other people. So they
Mm,
may get confidence, they may get more awareness, they're more
mm,
understanding of their own abilities and what they can do. They
mm,
have a lot of, in terms of skills, technical skills of building certain things. They might get into like coding or building certain games. Um, they can obviously earn a lot of money in gaming. I know someone who's like, I don't know them, but I know someone who
oh
knows.
really, they can, huh?
Oh yeah, like they're 13 years old and they earn like millions of dollars a year
How is that? How
because
does that work?
YouTube streaming sponsors. So they'll have things like Nike, Logitech,
Yeah.
those are people sponsoring them. They have ads on their YouTube videos, on their Instagram accounts to get sponsorships. Every time they play, they have sponsored things. There might be an ad that plays. So all of that is such a, the gaming industry is,
Huge, huh? Mm.
it's very a lot of money. So that's a great thing that can give them the confidence to pursue a career that is up and coming. And a lot of investors are pouring lots of money. Almost any company you think of most likely has money in gaming because it's really, really big. So if
Hmm.
your kids are into that, that's a great career path. It's just important to know who the mentors, the coaches are, where to go. And if
Right.
anyone needs that, I have resources for that. I love the gaming world. In general, Lord have mercy, because you know there's other things, especially as a woman, and men
Hmm.
build their things. But yeah, there's honestly the even with the research studies, the effects on the brain when you're doing it in a moderate way are just astronomical. Of course, they looked at gaming for people, Alzheimer patients, and
Right.
and so it's really really great in terms of training and mathematics and analytical skills and leadership skills. I cannot, like, the list goes on and on and on. And so if you're able to use gaming in that way, that's the best way possible, and I highly recommend it. However, obviously there's the bad side, but I believe there's good, bad, ugly, and beautiful to everything.
Mm. That's a good answer. I think people don't realize the advantages of gaming. That's also coordination and expanding the brain and you know. So yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
Huge. The benefits are honestly endless. Like we can have a 3 hour conversation and not be done with the, because there's countless of research studies on the actual benefits of gaming. So
Mm. I tried gaming. I have to say, first of all, the graphics are insane. They're so advanced. I mean, they look like films, you know,
yes.
and the coordination, the concentration. It also teaches you concentration. It's not easy. It's not easy. You
Oh,
know, you think, oh, gaming, you know, but no, it's not.
it's
And
chess.
it's also strategic thinking and so there are lots of good things about it. So I think people should, it's important to explore that. And I'm glad you're raising that because it's important to underline that everything has the good and the bad, and we should focus on the good and be able to navigate the bad. You know, understand that what are the negative aspects about these not gaming in particular but in general on social media, and how we can navigate through it and feel empowered using it. It's not, you know, I think honestly in terms of our work, as I said, it's really the adults that have that, they're afraid, you know, they're like, oh, because I think it's lack of information.
I agree.
Lack of information. Once you have the education and you understand what gaming or social media is all about, then you can learn to navigate through it. You know the pros and cons. You know how to use it as for entertainment and for development and brain development. That's important. Cognitive development, and coordination. It's a lot of things, but and also it expands it expands your mind, because you're dealing with communities that you wouldn't have dealt with otherwise. It's like one big, we're a very small world, and it's a very globalized world, and it you do learn a lot. I mean, I see from the youth today, they do interact with people in communities where, and they do have conversations that they wouldn't have in their homes, and that's a good thing because they don't feel alone.
Yeah.
So there's a good, as you said, there's a good, the bad, and the ugly, and everything.
Yes.
So I want to ask you something. I know that there's a Safe Kids movement, which is a mission that's very close to your heart. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it's a movement that I created. It's safekidsmovement.com, and where I do is I educate parents, caretakers on the foundations, the basics, everything we talked about today. So not only the tech, like the parental controls, the routers, the computers, the iPad, all of those type of things, but also about giving grace to yourself and understanding how to protect your kids either from predators, understanding addiction, understanding different parts of the internet, what to do, what not to do. This is something that's like dear to my heart because I want to make sure more parents are educated. So it's really a platform, it's a portal, it's a membership where parents go into and they watch videos, they have resources, they can ask me questions, there are discussions on how to protect your kids online, basically. And it's in all avenues, every which way. And that's my love.
Yeah, I can feel that. I think the last thing I'd really want to ask you is, what would you think the positives of social media are? Because like, for example, people who look at social media and say, okay, we're being cyberbullied, and there's a lot of cyberbullying, which there is.
There
But
is.
what are the positives? What are the positives of social media? How can youth feel empowered using social media?
The benefits honestly is in the name, and it's just community, because as
Mm,
people, no matter whether you're extremely extroverted or extremely introverted or whatever on the spectrum you're in, ambivert, I'm an ambivert. But it's
mm,
community. We all want to connect with other people. We all want
right,
to be social, whether it's like 1% social or 50% social, but we want to feel like we belong. A basic human need is to be heard, to be seen,
right.
to be appreciated. That's just a basic human need. And social media allows us to be seen, heard, and appreciated in ways that we've never had before. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, anytime you get human beings together, beautiful things happen. And when you get humans together, not so beautiful,
Very true.
because we're human, and there are always going to be people who are operating from trauma, from triggers, from
Mm-hmm.
misunderstanding, from whatever it is, and or what, maybe a different chemical makeup in their brain. And it's not to be derogatory, it's just a fact. And so when we're interacting with people, we're interacting with all of those elements, and you're always going to have a situation where something is toxic. And sometimes people are
Mm-hmm.
being toxic towards each other, and they're not toxic people. So sometimes we forget
Yeah, yeah,
that sometimes the interaction or the
yeah.
people together is not a good fit, but by themselves and around other people, they're okay. And so
Mm-hmm.
the positive is really the sense of community, the sense of togetherness, the sense of connection, the sense of being able
Right.
to understand a point of view that I mean, what we see with TikTok and gaming, kids are able to talk to people, teens, we are,
Exactly. Yeah.
talk to people who are completely different than
From
us.
all over. Yeah, from all over, and they
Exactly.
don't feel alone.
Nope. And that's the
No.
best part. And that's why they're connected, because they're searching for connection, and they found,
Exactly.
and you don't want to sever it, you want to cultivate it, you want to
Yeah,
protect.
love that. I want to thank you for this conversation, and for those listening, if you have any questions about cybersecurity, if you have any questions at all about online safety, how to protect your kids, how to protect yourself, we're going to put your links, Fareedah, down in the caption, so your people can reach out to you and ask you whatever questions they want. I think you're the best person for that, because you're relaxed about it. You're not like, ah, you know. You have the knowledge, but you're not, oh my God, you know. And it's true that it's so refreshing to hear that, and not be like, okay, you can be empowered using any, I mean, empowerment comes with anything once you have the information.
Yeah.
If you have the information and the tools, you can be empowered in any situation. So it doesn't only correspond to social media, but this is, since we're talking about it today, I think it's important that we take a step back, we take a deep breath. It's all okay. There are solutions. It's not all bad. And if you do have questions, please reach out to Fareedah. We'll put all her contacts down there. And thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to add? It was a pleasure having you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Like you're just amazing, and I love this is we've met through the online space. I mean,
It's true, yeah. But I think we connected because we're like, no, it's not. Don't be afraid. No, don't be afraid. Because I think, you know, once you're in that fear and shame space, you're blocked.
mm-hmm.
You can't move forward. And that applies to adults, and that applies to the youth as well. And if the adults project their angst or their fear, and they don't realize, kids pick up energy, you know. If I'm like, oh, I'm so afraid that you're going to be on this, you know, or I feel I'm not really comfortable, explain why do you feel uncomfortable, you know. Get it, you know, explain it to your kids, or explain it to kids around. Or if you're a teacher, it doesn't have to be your child, it can be, you know, kids that you hang around with. So so I think it's important that we normalize these conversations and understand that fear in terms of anything just blocks any emotion, you know. It stops you from moving forward, fear and shame. So I would say enjoy social media, learn the ups and downs, the bad, the good, and the ugly, and whatever. You had a very good line, the beautiful and the whatever. And you know, just navigate through it, and understand that you can do it. You can enjoy it, and you can be on top of it, and you can use it as, not that it owns you, but that you own it, you know. And that's the important message I'd like to get from this conversation. It's just that, no, don't sit back and be afraid. No, you've got this, and enjoy it. Enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, you have help. Like, you don't do this alone. You're not, I don't do this alone.
Exactly.
You don't do your work at Youth Underground alone. None of us should do it alone.
No, we shouldn't. Absolutely.
I feel like even if you're a single parent and it really is that you're really honestly doing things alone, there's help everywhere. There's
help everywhere, and you have to, yeah, and reach out, have the courage to reach out for help. There's no shame. And that, I think, that what I like, I'm to all our listeners, Fareedah is one person who does not judge at all. You know, every situation is a separate situation, and that's why I'm really excited to have you here, and the team is really happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Because you say it as it is, as it should be, and it's easy to navigate, it's easy to understand, but don't, you know, stop those misperceptions, and don't feel the fear about it.
Exactly.
So yeah, thank you so much, Fareedah. It was lovely having you.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, everyone who joined. I appreciate you. Please feel free.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I love the comments. I love the love. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we might be having this again sometime. You never know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And we'll put all your links below in the caption.
Yes.
And anyone who's got questions, please reach out to Fareedah.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye. Thank you, Fareedah.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
You too.